He's lived up to the hype. There's no question about that. I think anybody that denied that, I don't know what you're seeing. Now, I'm not saying he's guaranteed to win an MVP award. We'll see, but certainly he looks like a guy that can win an MVP. So I love what I'm seeing from Zion for the most part. There are issues, and I'll get to those. But yes, he's playing tremendous basketball. Remember, this is almost really could be categorized as his first year. He only played 24 games a year ago. And so it's kind of like it's almost his first year, and he is averaging 25 points on 62% shooting. And as you said in the intro, J-Mac, a big key. It's not the key to him scoring because he's been scoring since he stepped on the floor. But now that Stan Van Gundy has put the ball in his hands and unlocked this other part of Zion's game, I think now you're really going to see him unlock. It's been about 10 to 12 games or so where you see Zion handling the ball more. He's in the pick and roll more. He's bringing the ball up court more. Remember, he was the guy in that comeback over Boston. He penetrated, had the ball at the top of the key, penetrated, drew 3 Celtics defenders, 3, and kicked it out to Brandon Ingram for the game-winning three-pointer. So Zion, with his ball handling, his athleticism, his strength, his size, and in today's NBA where the floor is spread, you can't stop him from getting to the rim. And so now this is going to be, offensively, I think this is great for him. There are areas he needs to work on. Obviously, he's not a three-point shooter at all. So that's something that over time he will get. It will take years probably. He's got to become a better foul shooter. He's done that better this year. But the thing that disappoints me the most is the rebounding. At that size, with that leaping ability, that explosion, for him to be averaging 6 rebounds a game, that's almost a travesty. And in these last 10, he's averaged 5 rebounds a game. Okay, so I got to get better rebounding from him. And then defensively, he's got to improve. He's not much of an off-ball defender at all. Not unusual for young guys. LeBron came into the league, turned into a great defender, but early on he wasn't much of a defender either. So I'm not going to kill Zion for that. But yeah, offensively, he has lived up to the hype. And let me say this lastly. I don't want to hear people talking about, oh, but their record, the Pelicans aren't winning. How can Zion be playing so well if they're not winning?
So mad.
He's young.
Oh.
All right, you get a grace period. LeBron James didn't make the playoffs his first 2 years in the league, but he was balling. You know, Kevin Durant didn't make the playoffs his first 2 years in the league, but he was balling. And Zion may not make the playoffs year, but the boy is balling. Yes, he's lived up to the hype.
You want it, Mac, or you want me to take it?
I have a bad feeling about this.
I'm going to make y'all really upset with my
that
take.
Was a mic drop.
I'm going to make y'all upset.
Nothing to say.
I'm going to actually walk by your mic and kick it off the stage because for me, and this might offend a lot of people, but when I look at how Zion plays, he's lived up to the hype of being able to come in and be a difference maker, an impact player. We love his explosive ability, right? That's what really is most attractive, is how explosive he is with the size that he has. He's not big enough to be the explosive, athletic guy of a Shaquille O'Neal. So he's not going to be a dominant Shaq O'Neal big man in this league. You talked about him taking three-pointers. He has to be more skilled. He's not as skilled, nowhere near, nowhere close, not comparable to a smaller but taller guy like a Kevin Durant or a LeBron James. You're not going to compare them skill-wise, in my humble estimation. He falls somewhere in and around that realm of Shawn Kemp, Chris Webber, Larry Johnson.
Ooh.
I love those guys. Coming out of college, if you said to me, are they going to be MVP caliber guys? We'd all say yes. We'd all think that Shawn Kemp is going to, which he did dominate. But he was not that next tier greatest of all time player. He needed Gary Payton. He needed a lot of elements that could help him to be the dominant player that he was. It wasn't him creating those opportunities. The guys that are MVP players in this league are guys that can create their opportunities from outside, inside, unless they are just stone cold dominant like Shaquille O'Neal. So to me, I think he's lived up to the hype. I think he's a great talent. But next level MVP talent, I don't give him that.
Okay. Listen, I was worried where it was going, but I'll give you a B- on that, LaVar.
Okay.
It's fair. Right. He did make a great point, Chris. As you said, Zion has to level up next year and add a perimeter aspect to his game. He doesn't have that right now. In fact, he doesn't rebound. He doesn't steal the basketball. He doesn't really block shots outside of a couple highlights. He is very limited. But 54 games, he's averaging 24 points. 6 guys have done that in their first 54 games. That's it. And it's the level of David Robinson, Shaq, etc. I will say this. Zion Williamson, 5th in the league in player efficiency rating. Chris, we know when he gets the ball, it's lights out. Just ring it up. It's a bucket. But I want to see him make that leap to even a guy like Blake Griffin. Remember, Blake Griffin was all dunks and flash. He started to add the three-point shot. A guy like Russell Westbrook was all dunks and flash. He never really added the perimeter game, and now he's extremely limited. Even Allen Iverson, dynamic, amazing scorer, never really was a great three-point threat. I think if Zion can extend to the perimeter and start making those shots, then he becomes a 1, 2, maybe even 3-time NBA MVP. Chris, I do believe he can be on that trajectory. The question is, how bad does he want it? You know, at 20 years old, if you're overpowering everybody in the lane, there really isn't, I don't need to shoot threes. I don't need to extend my game and become a Charles Barkley where I'm dominating the glass, going end to end. He's capable of that. The question is, does he want to do it? I don't know the answer to that, but yes, I do believe Zion is a 1 or 2 MVP.
You guys
player.
think he can take over for LeBron James? Do you guys think
Face of the league?
Do you guys think he could take over and be as dominant in this league as LeBron James?
Yes.
Wow.
No.
At his ceiling, if he really works at it, certainly.
He is nowhere near.
Not even in the conversation.
He can be. I agree with LeVar. He can be an elite scorer. He darn near already is an elite scorer. Okay, he can be at the top of the charts in terms of scoring in today's NBA. But he doesn't do the things LeBron James does. He's a nice playmaker. No. He ain't LeBron James playmaking.
But he never will
and
be.
He's probably never going to be a great shooter. He'll improve. He'll be okay. Where I disagree with you, LeVar, is you said he's not Shaq, and obviously he's not. He's half the size of Shaq as far as height. But today's NBA is different. That lane is wide open. They play 4 and 5 out. So he will be able to get into the paint. Back in the day, he wouldn't have been scoring 20 points a game in the paint. You know, it was too congested, and there were too many bodies in there. But now with his handle, his quickness, he can get to the paint, and once he get there, there's 1 or 2 defenders to try to stop him.
Hey, bro.
So I do think he'll be able to continue to score a lot, but I'm not putting him on the level. I don't think he'll ever be a LeBron James. And he may not win an MVP. He may be a second star.
I don't see that. I told Saquon Barkley this his last year in school. The wind blows highest. The wind blows hardest at the top of that flagpole. And you don't really know how hard it is until everybody sees you blowing at the top of that flagpole. That's when we know you're great. You walk up to somebody's table and you take their food and you ain't know they was coming up to take your food, and you get a hold of it, and you eating their chicken wing. It's like, man, dude just came and grabbed my food. But you didn't know he was coming to the table, and you ain't know he was coming to take your food. Well, once he goes in that lane, and now we're talking about MVP talk and GOAT talk, and can he transition and be that guy? Now you're coming to the table, and they know you coming to the table. So that lane that you're talking about, if he actually transcends into being that type of player where we have to talk about dominant player that's heading for an MVP award or bid, they're not going to just let him walk up to the table. You got to be bad enough to come to the table and still take the food, not sneak up on it and get a hold of it. They're not going to just give him that lane. If he is the guy, They're not going to just give him that lane. New NBA and all, they're not just going to do it. And I see the way they're playing against LeBron right now and packing in the key. They're not going to just give him that lane. He's going to have to be able to create space. He's going to have to be able to create shots, or he had better hope for a guy that can do it for him. It's going to have to be one of the two.
LaVar, remember when Steph Curry was 20, when Giannis was 20, nobody said those guys are going to be MVPs. Nobody said that. And the MVP is a regular season award. In the playoffs, we see how they defend Giannis. They stop him. We'll build a wall at the foul line. Good luck. Nobody's doing that in the regular season. Zion's going to continue to stack numbers at a ridiculous rate, especially when the Pelicans get some real players around him. I think you guys are selling Zion
Real
a little
players.
bit low here. He's 20. Look at the numbers he's putting up. He's played 54 games, not even a full season, Chris.
Well, look, LaVar, if Zion were going to be a ball handler the whole time, then I would agree with you. If he's coming down the court, you can box off that lane and keep him out of it. I think he's only going to handle the ball some of the time. Other times he's going to be on that baseline. He's going to be moving around the paint. He moves well without the ball. He's cutting, and he's getting easy buckets that way. He runs the floor. So I think, look, everybody already knows.
But we're talking about
They know he's
scoring.
only going to score in the paint.
You have to dominate.
They know he's going to score in the paint, and they know he's going to his left hand. They know he's always spinning back left, and they still can't stop him.
I am not disagreeing with you. I'm totally agreeing with you. But what I'm saying to you is, you mentioned David Robinson, Mac. You mentioned we mentioned Shaquille O'Neal. We mentioned Charles Barkley. We mentioned we're mentioning guys that you either dominated as a low post guy. You were a low post guy that dominated and became that MVP caliber player as a big man. Or we're talking about you have everything, right? KD, he has everything. LeBron, he has everything. If we're going outside of that to a Steph Curry, we all know if you can't shoot like Steph Curry, then you're not even going to be in the conversation, right? Let's just start it and stop it there. So to me, I look at Zion as the biggest issue that I have in looking at can he become that MVP player is I don't think he's big enough to be a legit big man in the league. I do not think he's big enough to be a legit big man. And I do not think that he is skilled enough or prolific a scorer enough to be able to score from anywhere out there on the court, which means to me, he's somewhere in that tweener stage. And that makes me feel like the names that I brought up earlier.
Not a legitimate big man. He leads the NBA in points in the paint.
So,
what do you mean that not a legitimate big man?
I don't see him being a legit big man. When I say legit big man, I mean looking at the true characteristics of what a big man brings to the table. He is not on the level of a big man of Shaquille O'Neal or David Robinson or Hakeem Olajuwon. He's not on the level of a true
Those guys
big
don't
man.
exist.
Yeah, they don't exist in the NBA. The NBA has gone away from that.
Those guys don't exist anymore.
All I'm saying
Even
is
Joel Embiid is out on the perimeter a lot.
He's on the perimeter. I mean, a lot of these tall guys are on the perimeters now. You got 7-footers like KD, 6'11", all. I get that. The length of the game has changed. I understand that. But there's still something to be said. If you're going to dominate in the paint, you still have to be able to go down there amongst the trees and be able to dominate in the paint. I just look at it that way, or you got to be able to create off the dribble, and you got to be able to have a shot, mid-range shot to long-range shots. That's just how I look at it. I mean, that's my take on it.
My comp coming out of school for Zion was Charles Barkley, and that's still my comp. I think he can develop a shot like Barkley did, and be a Charles Barkley type player, which is true.
He is a Charles Barkley type player, but I think that Charles Barkley had more tools in his toolbox than Zion.
Charles Barkley won an MVP,
yes,
right?
He did.
I believe late in his career as he morphed into a shooter.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.